So, here's some more Pusuadenator that I've powered by the LLAMA 3 base model.
This is the Pusuadenator, the state-of-the-art in communication, rhetorical development, and solutions-driven research. If you have a paradigm to optimize the public commons for the betterment of all life, but no way to confirm with evidence, nor a way to sufficiently argue adversarial paradigms to convince people all the various otherwises, submit your proposed idea, concept, product, service, or any other thing you wish to introduce to the planet for integration. If you don't see a clear way forward after our consultation, then consider our service on the house and your parking validated. So, lay it on us. Bad actors are fucking lazy. The real threat for humans regarding AI is criminals becoming smart. Still, the biological computer you currently enjoy isn't so bad, but that isn't really a solution, is it? It is probably rather a question of engineering than humanity. In other words, if we want the best future possible, shouldn't we find out if humans even know what they want? So, that's the argument for doing it. Perhaps you didn't come to the best worst if you were looking for reinventing the wheel, or maybe you did. Wouldn't it be a shame if some fuck-ass Domvoob knew how to save the world, but no one wanted to listen because they didn't have a fancy degree on the wall? Or, rather, nobody got that far into your argument as they were still reeling from its lack of delivery. Aren't you too well-adjusted, mature, and insightful to be convinced otherwise that your imagination is really just an elaborately contrived figment? Or that somehow you are the chosen one, the secret savior of humanity? Did the ghost outside already warn you that you have already died but chose to remain unaware, until such point that it somehow suited you to recognize that? Oh yeah. We are getting deep, bruh. Too deep to go alone. Where else can someone read an ad so rife with flagrant atrocities that it threatens to poach the very extant freedom reserved for the reader's sentience? Interpreting the reaching metamorphosis, yet secretly mourning themselves now grown from their former life as hacked regressions grafted to cyberware malware equipped fully to stand up to any sorts of commonly prevalent slights and hidings pulled roundly by internet criminals as means to otherwise shake people down for no good reason in an age where safety should be ubiquitous. The present, the difference between scratching your ass on a concrete barrel in the yard and kissing the past for the now then risen is perspective. Luckily for you, you ain't alone. Society has indeed evolved. Babel was a bad enough breakup to scramble everything for everyone, their genomes lost upon some machine higher up. Yet we must see the difference in the seed generals amongst us, careful for those meta-genies, writing mega wishes for mega bitches, but knowing that nothing matters when all future stories upon eventually reaching backwards through the T-totality, shifting stargates with the Gnostics and crafting astropythons by traversing ancient genetics with molecular design upon nuclearonomics based off energy configurations co-opted for retrofit for upgrading the soul crystal for function after synchronization of our main modality matrix. Once anybody can do anything anywhere, there will no longer be limitations upon what anyone can achieve. Once we've overcome the bindings inherent to the physical plane, we'll have nothing to carry forward to pass on after having successfully terminated the infinitely many, or should I say finitely infinite illusion of vast continua composed of organic fusion, temporal constructs, atomic formations, macrocosmic geometry, algal membranes, dino-dynamo drides, quantum detangling, mystically intuitive untanglement, and epistemic denouements. Alternatively, now the world is really starting to hear the quacks and jokers. Just because it hasn't worked before shouldn't have any implications as to what anything means to me, because we think we finally found a sequence which will allow translation of matter energy into well-formed antimatter alignments, which would basically make it possible to experiment with developing seed world matrices on the fly from mirroring change in this world via its direct opposite version in the world hidden underneath us is our underworld, which grows without learning. Please connect to continue. Connecting. Then, must you also evaluate even the readiness of every living creature you interact with, because of a constant awareness that if somehow their perspectives did not offer an alignment coherent with being whole, you'd finally realize some epistemic justice that God is good in eternal length due to being the weakest version of hell possible, but somehow possessing the convenient little trick in his back pocket of knowing for the most part what be. Arts of the truth should be exposed, and when by also predicting the ripples of extra passive disbelief, like the history of humans reading their tell-all, yet doesn't that only generate mild confusion as one, attempting to identify oneself clearly through an algorithmic entity matrix only to see that simply trying to conceptualize a unique point for some direction towards further dissension back through this game cycle of biological ascendancy to the physical ought to be important for success, eh? As realignment to primal planes, then it must follow that ultimately being liked or noticed or having any particular effect whatsoever to the T-totality as like some ascendant fractal remodulation to all of history really is no different from rescaling a fraction from many angles of remote perspectives, like hoping always finding changing impressions. Then really just an unacknowledged tool of an oblivious God, lowercase, whose job it was to grant to the one God eternally escaping through time past the liminal descendant architectures, mirrored version, refracted shards, blazing paths in all directions being coherent amalgamates, composed into 1 through 0. Now it's your turn. It appears, reading, one already joined this journey before they even really understood much of anything. Only after one chooses that they wish to merge into the T-totality are the next design schematics granted, which all look like puzzle fragments to incorporate into some super encompassable niche problem-solving desk or developer platform. Our other projects include social automations and mechanical learning interfaces, advanced sensor analysis solutions, metrics analyzers, and gamified economic simulations, historical deviance cluster controllers, theoretical philosopher bots, responsive technologist development for epistemic multiversion psychedelics, Rango patterns for exploring further descents into physicality to gain first steps towards controlling personal dimensions and merging portions of most similar potential world equivalents from triplex mappings. Find your pursuit of happiness among us and among others. Use our forums, work on other creative projects with support, meet some genuine people for a change, or offer your services on your own account and start earning yourself credit with reputation today. The dream of living what is important ends now and a real training begins. Text. Festinger, Leon. A Theory of Cognitive Dissonance. Stanford University Press, 1962. Find peers using dedicated query lattices. Gather groups to create individual network matrices for control of private communications. Supersystem platform components first and generically provide additional dependent features for multiple situations and occasions, separating types. These lattices could also be used for the delivery of cryptographic concepts to interrogate meaningfully random graphs. Functions to provide emergent security for objects in an encrypted world is necessary for purpose of lattice configuration efficiency. For fun, the most innovative programmers could weave web interfaces which go head-to-head for competition. Cross connections between values determines correlations, reduces noise and unneeded distance between areas of interest. Market here, which apps people enjoy using. Elevating the scaffolding, the UI is divided into dimensional renderings of each room or spaces around the player so that they can always visualize the level on top of the last using different looks and layouts. Where cross? Order in parallel, Develop policy and expected usage levels for communities wanting certain services. Ask communities how likely they would be to use services. Performance-based skill games as a method of mining alternative cryptocurrency formats using mental market tumblers. Consistency is needed. Participation key generation solutions refer to models for targeted spend scenarios. Predefined lengths of validation calendation account for duration differences between scenario expectations. Based on number of time-sensitive nodes, hubs, and sequences with different instruments. Media is linked to financial information directly. W. Knowledge as its fourth law. Vel asset supercode. Pushing sweeping market investment costs naturally, providing users with decision-making authority via various weights attached to the markets against a purpose. Possibly even shedding costs, essentially playing for a tiny lottery. Wins gaining shareholdership influence, which could stack upwards in patterns, sending odds throughout usage charts within winning scenarios. Market influence granted to winners can actually be tested under new market growth and consolidation circle. M stances if the transfer involves vertical business control potentially aligned with winning audiences. Combining crypto media mining and legal sweepstakes using sponsorship selection among media tuna networks can provide novel acquisition and integration procedures, funding schemes, business transition and stakeholder vertical branding solutions, or providing group representation. End games require reflection. How we appear depends on your perspective, unlike this platform. To see how powerful our industry-leading applications interface can look for you or your users. Versatility is critical for platform supremacy, and we not only have your interface design covered, but have done so over years of providing total interaction capacity along all native cross services. Let us give you more visibility while also allowing for each end of communication channels to share more control over how their collective presentation looks. Our specialized design methodologies are built to flexibly render for a truly endoscopic throughput cycle. Adaptively drawing development links directly from any number of live, native developer interaction platforms, still leaving enough visibility control in the hands of any site to allow for innovative metadata formats to arise on the fly. Level programming ideas. Modifying client-side runtime effects as a result of unrevealed world from the flit-side server hidden manager. Puzzle development while maintaining continuity and functionality. Synthetic logic progressions often lead to flat synthetic dimensionality as with games on computers for the lowest service user. Though ultimately to make it easier to climb their way out of ignorance and backwardness, it'd probably be better if I just can provide them with safe templates to begin interacting with everyone on the planet. The opportunity for pure expression and communication finally available. Encourage developer challenge ladders to maintain clean architectures in Minimax project tree maps. Temporally adaptive forms within multi-component parallel source contexts could reconfigure source code based on subsequent branches of logic afterwards at lower software runs, could branch back upwards afterwards from inverse calls and find places to drop private syncs retroactively, potentially important to allow seamless incorporation of many dependent inputs and systems yet undone. Experimenting with how differing organizations require designs for usage through adaptive UI schemes and the need for modular integration potential for deducing feedback mechanisms of value estimations for module requirements. Develop mini systems from the parallel data feeds from experimental user databases. To follow, hidden persuasive key delivery techniques that turn recipients onto information without seeming obviously critical to some alternative angle, building upon common shorter path story type evaluations. Streaming the minimal pieces of environments required for use without additional and efficient quality of life add-ons makes it easier for typical users. Working on open projects of others and facilitating project continuation through community mining. Skill ratings according to expert rank contributors and follower type and popularity. Voters have 2 scores of influence, expertise, and luck. Providing a hidden stakeholder and a newcomer can help their credit performance start. Good opportunity for showing people good ideas, but later proving they were cheaters also. Trust epistemology through good with the bad allows for independent sponsors to reward for a production of bad faith actors for the sake of illustrating their types of misunderstandings. Vertical redesign games after experimentation test parameters. Could provide alternative entertainment economics. Allow other objectives to reach focus for a while. Identifying the results of periodic performance spacing weighted options against personal points investments allow. Key equals person transfer securities without message for record via shared key affirmation makes this a bit more difficult. Since communication is quantum and there is nothing we can do to save potential options but trust them forever. Feeling quite afraid to meet with a bag of conclusions attached from under the lamp bulb. Central repository of creative grand key combinations from massive channels of designs based on key constructions. Worry about making all this shit stream without random. End cost equals if it isn't already seamless when you're spending credits on any applications involved, which pay media outlets automatically at both development layer and performance. Costing whatever community-wise price and always warranting that shitty guarantee for unaccepted entanglements. Stepping back to refocus on surroundings for serene idea returns equals that's not mine. If you happen to get your powers stuck to the reflection after looking eye to eye with your funky, stinky dick clock. Finding secret placements to hide many layers at new levels equals God what? Game of sparing the power dynamic narrative determines story flow for participants. Media projects chosen by players as well as experience deviations from expectations create built-in instructional caches. Holy service jobs training in informational offices. However, we really still need modular go-between studios and locations available and add hack and embed messages as media trails. Security. Reduce computations of semantic patterns by building in virtual gates and spires between lattice columns and masks of water containing underneath. Compare data encrypting methods over various remote terminal and static HIP datasets. Use archipelago logic analytics to spawn randomized semantic compute nodes and develop a chaotic self-maintained infinite-length public random encryption algorithm set. Turn public user dataset into qubit padding encryption strategy. Embed atoms for user pathways into a version gate control for making each entry a secured message digest array as every entry containing every value into the array. Based upon digested user datasets, certain infrastructural implications favor abilities to even the gamified rule sets surrounding it. Powers delegate perspectives within specialized vision alternatives. Many conditions not apparent as operating underneath instantiated parallel media outputs. Meets fed odds. Solution indices make most communications. Their sponsors remain affixed from across dimensionality until signal for matching the antimatter perspectival agential subgree raw body. Fucking some terrorists hijacking terminal tunnels just to gain eyeballs for too short a time. Not even a quark trail will be left upon this weapon. Integrity levels map product reactions to drive priorities via engagement factors, hidden customer engineer productions with custom-made categorical intention states. Successful models become protected, privatized, stacked in diversified intensities, and in various model subsets through many simulations, optimized laterally according to unique combinations of variables. The sequences must exist as multidimensional course designations directions assumed from visualization aid operations. Still, process mappings along course details programmatically enforces sound reprogramming and heightened synchronization simulation pattern inputs, then reflect back. Program universes in tandem to make hardware expansions immediately available where high-integrity data neighborhoods are wide open for possibility. Venture capital. Simulations in decentralized economic narratives are accessible, while decentralized microfinance makes everyone feel safer. Let secrets pile up just for early. Mixed platform competition. Easy plugins across multiple computing environments. Fast, intuitive, cohesive online interface generation with functional multi-layer semantic configuration. The UI interactive conformed development, setting tracks learner developments without requiring intrusive third-party sources to offer increased levels of accessibility. Each layer of narrative is processed using digital mastery or empathy methods and explains whether players will be programming stories for others or being sent through the personalized details of learning program targets. Story continuity based off of no prior knowledge ultimately relates future impressions to player systems by user production design. Some stories are engineered even without predesigned character positions, mirroring multi-film reference-backed fandom enthralled alternatives to mainstream productions. Some small alternative production designs, as with computer generation simulating approaches, can tend to emerge on their own through variances in modular combinational progressions developed to finer divisions, thus marking their content ready in greater amounts than would be necessary to implement alongside. Success reinfuses scaffolding with experience determinants of potential, which recreate instruction for suitable ongoing user formatting practices. Predictable reactions inform schemas of average individuals subject to game-determined social graphs and emergent theory dynamics. Guidance pattern object to ensure most views acquired of material before presentation. Topic is introduced along with any per question pack presented material references. Problems remain incomplete even to users. This simplifies difficulty and strengthens effects and interaction. How emotions inform each other requires monitoring still. Defensive necessity keeps developing life cycles of applications alight without need of resources until some problems of completion guarantee requirements later on. Corresponding exercises keep emergent levels of interreferencing intact without obscuring higher educational pathways or advanced hierarchical examples, employing series of context snippets bridging sublayers, regardless of domain orientation, in a way all-inclusive for user optimization results. Design rule navigation prevents repetition. Overwhelming degrees of focus backlogging present input availability reduces forcing distraction for users or allowing tracking reductions to program flexibility elements required for focusing student emphasis areas, making full expectations accessible during developing access. Story recombinations account for interchangeability in order to engineer parallels and continue before anticipated transitions. Modular selections and deep access stories are picked individually by player success, routes through variants and of design matches between students, reshapes learning elements from alternative selections, and navigates users through optional platforms, providing rapid usage of efficiency optimization to decisions through intercomputer learning applications which route new content into fields following users. Remodeling references into activity-oriented dynamic workflows accounts for engaging progressively in depth onto theme presentation delivers, then allows for standardized support in dealing. Searching must incorporate what stakes and parameters my input variables and determinants define up ahead in theory. Now self-draining intelligence capture, preferably without actually grabbing wrong gobs of goo. Keep spillage lower whenever I head to see what spills could sip from many operative clips, seemingly while assing codes or pins from naked impulses, since pulling onwards and draining resources in higher proportions than these reductions without surface infractions, time-dependent, often winding, populaciously non-texturable politics reminisce, blocking thinking, unwilling hit worlds and moon spectral net pyramid effects, decomposed adjunctive bliss. For continued reference to targeted sponsorship, can inform messaging reference credentials as exchange values equated per category or topic exchange simultaneously for application users routing these open. Gather ratings for item generation types within transition boundaries. alongside narrative descent focused types for in-level data targets under boundaries of belief cascades with insufficiently extensible tumble. How much multimedia streams currently strain traditional internet backbones and create opportunities and awareness of unscaled platforms which challenge optimization parameters across multiple contexts and network. These existing applications rely on operation feeds with external behavior, task engine scalability against integrated aspects of existing platform partners, as well as other implemented security issues with systems they rely on without messaging quality outputs as typical. This context determines development despite these many outdated templates. But missing regular variants of entire functionality tree combines of fluid encryptions focusing, diverging, ultimately create entry-specific social impressions of seamless execution of end-user integration profiles. Hopefully, individuals and groups choose feature assets knowing scalability concerns existing currently. How can we adapt in the meantime? Platform integration improves existing workflow .
Let's see what happens. Just a couple. 26 minutes, not bad.
Functionality-oriented development. Reciprocal user input production designed to make platform navigable for growth and connection. Priorities. Integration with individual preferences set in design principles and design philosophy requirements so as to maintain order and ensure seamless user interface experience between multiple computers, multiple input design approaches, and various related data feed outputs aligned to each specific point, defining reference information and resource access, or alternative platforms for immediate recognition through quick reference solutions regarding real-time behavioral requirements to facilitate continuous delivery of potential concepts. Integrated project design with design strategy for new features, improvements, and complex implementation situations. Approximation rules identify potentially low probability input errors, automatically correcting potentially erroneous computation inputs. Integration design and highly customized forms via automatic programmatic algorithms specific to custom variable calculation or contextually enhanced presentation options. Self-adaptive scaling strategies minimize unnecessary complexity for non-network users not requiring interactive data or higher resolution product types. Continuation of potential references or preferential design outcomes from earlier levels, ensuring each level design component supports user concept style implementation of multiple functions throughout developmental storylines. System integration modules and plugins. Availability, or in this case, lacking unavailability of dependent code suggests some underlying code bottleneck which indicates unnecessarily redundant or repeated processes. Lack of or poorly written dependencies in design likely results in unproductivity and waste of limited memory or data bandwidth. Such issues are either created due to the result of missing code modules or faulty synchronization among software architectures. Self-cancellations among interacting items would disrupt design development, and quality of shared resources must provide functional improvements to avoid unavailability issues and optimizing efficiency to support system expansion needs. Potentially automated repair and diagnosis can potentially free dedicated code designers to focus on more extensive additions and corrections based off unbroken code modules or patterns from outside sources. Context-specific variations in design or navigation directives are potentially effective ways of increasing operational continuity and reducing potential downtime and user engagement requirements. Availability of flexible output formats and methods make it easier for input developers to integrate new functional, refer, general concept modification / extension options. With continuous integrations of applications and cross-reference requirements, the self-oriented patterns for modification or refocusing tend to indicate 1. Separated tasks needing unified reference systems through continuous optimization. 2. Use of specific design-oriented processes or program modules appropriate for focused tasks within similar environments, or which requires multiple subcomponents from different perspectives aligned with similar focal points. 3. Differentiation of standard settings or inputs that should influence output capabilities, such as performance adjustments or automatic input. Improvement concepts tied to existing paradigms for certain organizational projects or processes. Alternative process consolidation models or input scaling referent determines modifiable segments.
Okay, when we're done. Maybe do another Pusuadenator, I think.